Sisterhood live. Real power, sisterhood live. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome to Real Talk Bible Study. Wait a minute. It's not just Real Talk Bible Study, it is the Sisterhood takeover of Real Talk Bible Study. This is the Sisterhood edition. This is Sisterhood Live. I wore my t shirt just for the occasion. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad that you are here joining us on tonight as the sisters. This is Women's History Month. And I know you're making your own history in your own life, and so are we right here at the Sisterhood Live. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Go ahead and call your sister, text her, email her. Well, maybe not if you're on your laptop, but get in touch with another sister and invite her to join you on tonight. Welcome back. We haven't done this in a while. We haven't done Sisterhood Live in a while. So we are back for a limited time only, a limited engagement today and on next Wednesday. The Sisterhood Live has always been a sacred space for real sister talk, right? I'm so excited. And it is a part of Real Power AME Church. This is the women's ministry of Real Power AME Church, where our pastor is the Reverend Dr. Harold B. Hayes Jr. We are located in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. And we're excited that you are here. So, on tonight, we have a special treat. We have the Sisterhood Live co host that will be back with us, that was a part of the Sisterhood broadcast. But we also have an amazing multi generational panel to talk about our theme for tonight. And we'll introduce that in a few minutes. So, I want you to know that this is our Sisterhood Month. Yay! We are so excited, and we look forward to celebrating on Sunday, March the 17th at 9:45. Put it on your calendar. Get out your phone, put it on the calendar in your phone, write it down, and then put it somewhere where you won't forget to join us on Sunday, March the 17th at 9:45 for our Sisterhood Celebration Day. Y'all know how we do. We are the Black Church. You got to wear your white, some purple, some teal, or some combination of all of the above with the touch of gold. Those are the Sisterhood colors. And so we want you to come. Bring your family, bring your friends. It's not just for women, it's for everybody. But if you have a special sister friend that you want to worship with you, you've been looking for an opportunity to invite her to church, then tonight is the night. I'm sorry, not tonight. Well, yeah, tonight. Invite her tonight, but then invite her to come to worship with you on Sunday as well. What I want to do is invite Reverend Sandy and Sister Ann up to the platform, and Sister Janelle as the co-host of Sisterhood Live back. I want to say back in the day, like it was a long time ago, right? Welcome, welcome, welcome. The only person we're missing is Dr. T, who is now the pastor of New Liberation, the interim pastor of New Liberation AME Church. Wow, what a difference a couple of years makes. And we are so happy for her. But guess what? She'll be here next week. And we're excited about that. We're excited. So I needed some reinforcement. So I invited them to come up with me as we go through the wonderful segments that we have and Sisterhood Live. We start off with our greeting, and then we were just talking about dot, dot, dot. We get to choose something that's going on in current events, cultural events. And so we want to take a few moments and talk about our cultural events. I just wanted to take a moment to have I want to call them the Sisterhood Live alumni right here, but I'm excited to invite the rest of the panel up. We're excited because we have a multi-generational panel on tonight to join us in Sisterhood Live. And I want them to come up to take part in we were just talking about for our current events. So Brother Mike is so awesome. He's helping us on tonight. Yay. Thank you so much, Brother Mike. But I want to introduce the rest of our panel. We want to welcome Sister Crystal Cotman. Come on up, yay. I don't know. I don't have one of those things that they do at the club. You know, all that noise. Yeah, we are celebrating. Welcome, welcome. This is our multi-generational panel, and I forgot to do that. Okay, so let's do this. I am a baby boomer born between 1946 and 1964. That's all I'm sharing. Amen. Wendy, how about you?
I am a baby boomer as well.
All right, Sister Janelle.
I am Gen X.
Gen X. All right, Sister Ann.
Same as Janelle, Gen X.
Did we get you, Crystal?
Not yet. Gen X.
All three y'all are Gen X's. I love it. All right, then we have Sister Deanna Selden. Yay! Welcome, Deanna.
Good evening. I am Gen X.
You are another Gen X. All right, Gen X in the house. Well, I'm so glad that you are here. And let's now bring up Sister Corinne Selden. Yay. Oh, that's Danita. Hey, Danita.
Hi.
Going with the flow. What generation are you, Danita?
I'm a millennial.
She is a millennial. Yay. Beautiful. All right. Then we have Sister Corinne. There she is.
Hi. I'm
Hey,
also
what?
a millennial.
Also a millennial. And I'm so excited, y'all. We have, I like to call her Riri, Sister Rihanna. Come on up, Riri. We're so glad you are here. And you are generation what?
Z.
Generation Z. Come on. I think we got a real well-rounded group here on tonight. So let's jump right into we were just talking about. All right, so we have a black woman named Risa Tisa. I know that's not her real name. Does anybody know what her real name is? Maybe that's all she's going by. But on TikTok, she has recorded a 50-part TikTok storytelling series called Who TF Did I Marry? We need one of those bleep things. We don't have one of those bleep buttons, but y'all know. Y'all ain't been in church all your life, so y'all know what that means. Who the TF did I marry? Right? It's about her meeting, marrying, exposing, and divorcing a pathological liar. I've watched the Good Morning America interview. It was riveting and almost unbelievable, right? And so the series has gone super viral, not just viral, but super viral. She has had 400 million views, catapulting her into fame. So not only was she on Good Morning America, I also watched her interview on the Tamara Hall show, and I'm sure you guys may have seen her on other shows. And it is drawing attention. Now, this is Women's History Month, and this is Sisterhood Live. It's brought attention to Black women's challenges in dating and relationships. Now, we have to talk about that as the current event. So, we did a question of today, of the question of the day. So, if you are joining us live and you didn't get a chance to answer the question of the day, this is your opportunity to put it in your chat to let us know your answer to this question. Have soul bearing stories like what TF did I marry or posts from other women ever made you feel seen, affirmed, or understood? In other words, have you come across another woman on social media sharing, being vulnerable, being transparent about her life and her experiences? Does that bless you? Does that encourage you? Does that make you go, "Ooh, why is she telling all of that?" What does it make you feel? Or does it make you resonate? Or do you feel like you can relate to what they're saying? Do you think it's a good idea? What do you think about women soul bearing or bearing their soul or being very vulnerable and transparent on social media about their life? I didn't see any answers on our Facebook page, but let's start with our amazing panel. First of all, how many of you, this is your first time hearing about Risa Tisa? My hands, both of my hands are up.
Yeah.
All right. And so let's hear from you. What have you heard about it? And or just answer the question of the day. Have you heard or watched a video or seen something on social media that resonated with you, or you were like, that was too much, I would never? Just jump in.
So good evening, everyone. Stanita. So I am a millennial. So I haven't watched all 50, but I definitely heard about her story. So I went to the comments to get the story, and I got the summarized story. And yes, she definitely exposed who she married. She married a liar. And I definitely felt like all of the above, it was important that she shared her story because other women can also relate to it that's, in her situation, or it was a little bit too much because she did, expose everything. But all of that was also important to her journey, and not only her journey, but also to the women around it that watch all the videos or even just went to the comments like me. It's important to even just share your story because you never know who you might be helping, or you never know who's actually going through it or who can even just relate to it.
I love it. Thank you, Stanita. Anybody else? Come on, let's get it popping. I know y'all got something to say.
I agree with Stanita. I'm sorry, Reverend Sandy. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, Sister Ann.
Okay. I agree with Stanita. It was a good thing that she shared her story. I think when you go through something and you share your story, it empowers you to a certain degree, and it can take away the shame and the embarrassment eventually. But it definitely empowers you. I feel like, and it blesses other people to. And it because a lot of times when you go through stuff, you have a tendency to not want to talk about it because of the shame or whatever, and you want to seclude yourself. But that is the opposite of what we really should be doing, because when we speak of it, we are blessing other people and hopefully maybe even preventing them from learning a lesson from what we went through.
That's good. I love that.
I was going to say, I had heard about it from someone that I follow, and it amazed me that people were actually glued to it. I mean, they were just glued to the story. So I can't wait for the next, when she was going through it, the next episode or the next segment. And I agree. I think it's good that she shared it. I haven't looked at it, but I've heard about it and heard a lot of comments about it. But and I agree. I'm glad she shared her story because it exposed the individual that she encountered, and it was, I guess, full of lessons learned for
Mm,
other people to pay attention to red flags when you see them. To take the precautions that you need when you're entering into various relationships. And it's just that it allows us, or it lets us know that so many women are vulnerable because they have a desire to be liked, to be loved, to be wanted. And so it just let us know how vulnerable women are. And that's why I think it resonated with so many people that have watched it and have viewed her story.
I love it.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Mary.
I actually watched all 50 parts. I watched the lives. I watched everything. I was very like glued, like Reverend Sandy said. I was very glued. I was waiting for the next part. Like she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna drop tomorrow." I was like, "No, girl, drop today." Like I was very, very, very like intrigued. I really think like her sharing her story really made her like she showed her vulnerability. She was very empowering. Like I feel like as a young lady, she like opened my eyes just to pay attention to the red flags and like relationships and like just people that you encounter. Like you just never know. He was telling her stories about somebody that he wanted to be and not who he was. And it was
Wow.
just like you have to pay attention to people like that because there are people like that out here in the world.
I love it. Riri, look at that wisdom from a Gen Zer. Go ahead, Riri. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Man, anybody else before we move on to our next segment?
I think
I'm ready.
it was really powerful because the social media, the internet in general, and then social media in particular, is like the land of imposter syndrome, and it can make you feel like you're not doing the thing that you should be doing in your life. And so when people share, like her, share their story, their challenges, their experience, it makes you feel less intimidated by the experiences of your own life. That's one. And then two, I think another positive is she is a masterful storyteller. In order to break this story out and to compel people of all generations,
all backgrounds for this long, for 50 TikTok, like 50 and lives and interviews, is just amazing. And so what I love is that we are finding gifts that we wouldn't have necessarily known. I don't know if she knows that she's a good storyteller. I don't know. But we all know that she is now. And so that is also an added benefit of people telling their stories, whether you're doing it in a creative way, whether you're singing a song, like sometimes even graphically, like coming up with different ways to share it on social media is just amazing. So that was an added benefit.
I absolutely love it. Anybody else? Like I keep saying, anyone else? Let's go. Let's go. And man, if not, we will.
I was going to say, Reverend Kelly, I don't do a lot of social media, so I'm hearing this story for the first time, but I will probably go and check it out, just because what has been said has piqued my interest. But for me, for the most part, just women telling their stories and you hearing somebody else's story, because when you're going through something, you always think you're the only one
Mm-hmm.
that is going through that, and so forth and so on. And we don't, well, I don't really open up like that. But then when I hear somebody else, and I might be just like having a conversation, like myself, Rihanna, and Rondice, we have conversations back there all the time. We were just talking about, Rihanna was just schooling Rondice and I on what uh, uh, if we were Gen X or millennial or whatever we were. She was giving us a tutorial on that. So we have a variety of conversations. So those type of conversations really help me, because it helps me to know that I'm not out there by myself, and that there is always somebody else who is probably going through the same thing you're going through, and they probably have some type of wisdom that they can pass down to you on how they coped with it, how they dealt with it, how they got through it, and so forth and so on. That may help you determine which way you need to go in your process and healing and so forth and so on. And I'm like, Sister Ann, I think you need to get it out, because if you hold it in, that's just all those emotions that you're holding in, and it's really not good for you to hold your emotions in like that. You need to get it, even if it's just you screaming out loud, by yourself, or crying, laughing, whatever it is. However you need to get it out, I think you need to get it out. And I think that the I think the people who tell their stories on social media are very brave.
Mm-hmm.
It takes I don't think it's easy for you to tell your business to the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like me just talking to you, Robert Kelly, having a private conversation with you. You're talking to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be out there for ever. So people
Right.
can go back and keep watching it, and so I think that is a brave thing to do, and I think it is part of the healing process when you can take those steps.
Man, I absolutely love the sisterhood because I love the sisterhood. I love the empathy. I love the compassion. I love it all because as I watched it, both Robin Roberts and Tamara Hall were so gentle with her. They were very open and kind, and they asked questions and tough questions, but they weren't. At least I didn't sense any judgment or judgmental way in asking questions. And I really appreciated her because she was so transparent and honest in realizing that she was overlooking the red flags. And she talked about how that God was literally trying to speak to her and help her, but she made that choice because that's what she wanted. But what it was and what it speaks to for so many women is that she wanted to be in relationship. She wanted to be loved. She wanted to be affirmed. She wanted that and needed that, and she took a chance. And so we can't judge. We don't know what we would do. That's first of all, let's say that none of us know what we will and will not do when we're faced with those situations, and our heart is wanting something and hoping. Women are good at that. We will hope that we can change somebody, that we can make it what it's not, because we are wired to be in relationship. And the truth is, I think human beings are wired to be in relationship and want it. And so I pray for her continued healing, and the trauma that she went through, that she continues to get the help that she needs to work and walk through that. But as women, we don't have to be ashamed. Tell our story, because you absolutely will help somebody else. And so I'm praying for her as she continues this healing journey. And the fact that it got 400 billion views, that lets you know that the world is hungry for relationship, and not just women. I think everybody is hungry. And so that's what we were just talking about. Thank y'all for weighing in. I'm going to shoot this over to Sister Ann as we move forward. It's Sisterhood Live, y'all. Yay!
All right. So as you said earlier, March is Women History Month, and at Real Power, it is also known as Sisterhood Month. So for our theme for Sisterhood Month is the confident woman believing bigger. And basically, we know in life a lot of times it's good to just reset, refocus. And so Sisterhood Month for Real Power is a time for the Sisterhood ministry to refocus on our mission, and our ministry and our focus, which is to heal, nurture, and empower both women and girls. And we do operate from a 5-point focus, which is spiritual formation, personal and leadership development, service and sistership, holistic wellness, and financial literacy and economic empowerment. So, our topic for tonight basically hits on several of those areas. And I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. K so she can tell us exactly what that topic is tonight.
That was quick. Okay, so this is Women's History Month, and this is the church. And so I wanted to hear different generational voices as we talk tonight on the state of the Black church woman. And that the impetus behind that, for some of you who may or may not know, also the internet was awash. I can't say it was 400 billion viewers, and I don't know if it went beyond the church community or not, but it may or may not. But the impetus was when Dr. Gina Stewart. She is an amazing orator, preacher, teacher, pastor, and well known, and a mentor. She became the first woman to preach at the National Baptist Joint Board session. Now, that is major. It shouldn't be, but that was major, right? In 2024, she was the first woman to ever preach there. And so, that there are several major organizations or denominations or reformations within the Baptist church. And so she's a part of one of them. Her church is a part of it. And this was her first time. And the whole issue was that there were a lot of people that were supporting her. I mean, leading up to it, she was getting, phone calls, texts, and she was getting encouragement from other women in ministry. And then when it happened, and it was that day, there was a lot of people in the room that supported her as well. But then, of course, we couldn't leave it at that. Then the rumblings started happening, the conversations started happening, that there were men who weren't going to show up at all. They weren't going to show up because she was preaching. Or when she got up to preach, there was a report that some men got up and walked out. And that very well could have been true. On her interview with Roland Martin that I watched, she was saying she'd heard that, but that she did not see it herself. And then here was the thing. She preached a word. What are we to do with Jesus? It was a phenomenal word. But within 24 hours, her sermon was up on the website of the Baptist convention that held the meeting. And then all of a sudden it disappeared. Man, can I tell you, the sisters were not having it. They were in an uproar over the fact that all of the other videos were still there except hers. It got so much attention that the president had to literally put out a formal, um, I guess, response to it, even saying, even to the point saying that they were going to get the FBI to investigate what had happened. And he wasn't at the meeting, so he also had to put out a formal a statement to say why he wasn't at the meeting. He was not boycotting it because she was preaching. He had a previous meeting that he had to be at, but it was such a uproar. And I wanted us to take a moment in 2024 for Sisterhood Month and Women's History Month, because she just made history, to talk about it. Right. The main point, one of the main points of her sermon was that she talked about Claudia, telling the room to stand up for Jesus, that in the moment, his most vulnerable moment on the cross, who's going to stand up for Jesus? Who's going to speak for Jesus? Who's going to live for Jesus? And she said, who's going to be like Claudia? I want to be like Claudia. And before you know it, you know how we do. Within 24 hours, the Sisterin had sweatshirts, t-shirts. They had everything with I am Claudia. It started the hashtag I am Claudia, and they got sweatshirts and t-shirts and everything saying I am Claudia. In other words, I will speak up for Jesus. The way she presented Jesus as a liberator, right, as one who loves. And man, she did not hold back. She was literally saying stuff like, don't hide behind your spirituality. If you're a racist, just say you're a racist. If you're a homophobe, just say you're a homophobe. If you're a sexist, just go ahead and say it. Don't hide behind your spirituality. And that made me think, where are we then in the church as Black women, as being the majority of persons in the Black church who have carried the Black church, who have funded the Black church for centuries? And if she was the first woman to preach in 2024 and got this much controversy around it, where are we? I love how Janelle put in our notes. She's encouraged the room to speak up for Jesus when it's unpopular, when it's uncommon, when it's inconvenient, when they silence you, and when they hate you. Will you speak up? And in the process, she was speaking to women. So I've introduced our panel, and I want to talk about that. What is the state of the Black church? Because we're talking about tonight, kind of in the vein of our spiritual formation, part of our programmatic focus, 5-point focus, personal leadership development, and definitely sistership, how we can kind of intertwine all of that. Listen to some of these statistics. A survey of more than 8,600 Black adults in the US, nearly half of Black adults, 47%, say that Black churches are less influential today than they were 50 years ago. 66% of American adults ages 18 to 22 who regularly attend Protestant churches during their teenage years dropped out of regular attendance for at least a year during their college years. 49% of Black millennials and 46% of Black Gen Zers reported that they rarely or never attend religious services. And in a survey of 1,001 evangelical and Black Protestant women, 68% said women's ministries make the relationship between women in the church stronger. And we have a whole lot of um, other statistics talking about the nuns and the duns. Those are the nuns, people who don't even go to church no more, who are not even thinking about going to church, and the duns. That's people who've been to church and said, been there, done that. And those numbers are rising. And Black women are the most churched women on the planet, but things seem to be changing. So, what do you think about what happened with Dr. Gina Stewart, and just any of your thoughts overall on the state of Black church women today in 2024? Whew, that was a lot, right? But I know y'all have something to say, and we want to hear what you have to say.
I guess I'll just say something. I want to say that women have always been very present in the church, maybe not more so in leadership, but I think that we've come a ways in terms of being leadership and being in pastoral roles and bishops and leaders of conferences. And I just want to salute um, that pastor because she stood up and she stood flat footed and she gave a word. And she gave a word on behalf of not only Christ, but on behalf of women. And I think that she's probably had some challenges, even just being in the role of being a pastor in a Baptist church, because we know that didn't come easy.
Mm-hmm.
Still, there may be some congregations that are still resistant to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we've come a good ways, but I think we still have a yet ways to go because there are still, even with this situation, her being the first, there were, like she said, rumors of people walking out, people who didn't show up, who still are not supporting the role of women. And it just, I guess I just can't grasp that because of the important role that women have played in the Black church. I mean, we've supported the pastors and we've supported the protests and all of that. There was always women in the background in the church and laying that foundation, even though they may not have been in the role to do the spiritual foundation, but they were there and they were there, and they're the real reason why many of their children came to church. So I think we've come a ways, but we have a ways to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Reverend Sandy. And anybody have a question that you want to ask the panel and those who are watching that we didn't think of, go ahead and bring that up. Come on, let's hear from you. What do you all think?
I'll go. Growing up, I used to spend summers in the country with my aunt and uncle, and my uncle was a pastor. And she on Sunday mornings, it was like she did the majority of the work. She was the one who kind of fleshed out the sermon, and he didn't read very well. She read well, so she basically, helped him every Sunday, get the sermon together. And you know, the church, even though it was like a small country church, the women were the ones who did the majority. They were like we always say, the backbone. They were there to open it up, there to make sure it was clean, they had food, they took care of the kids, they made sure everything was right. And to hear, I'm so out of the loop with everything. I hadn't even heard about it until I was reading Janelle's notes today, about this Dr. Gina Stewart thing, because I don't watch a lot of TV. But it's disheartening that we're still here at this late date after we've already, you know, literally proved ourselves over and over and basically run stuff anyway. So I'm a little disheartened by this whole this whole story that I'm just now hearing about. Lord help me.
Thank you for sharing, though. All right, someone else.
I think I'm spoiled because I go to a church where I don't have to think about these things and these challenges. And then when I am exposed to them, how far back we are in so many respects, I'm like, oh, that's right. There's a fight going on, and I still have to be a part of it. I help organize this event every year at my grandparents' church in Pennsylvania, and it's a small church, a little small country church. And so I'm in charge of finding the minister every year for this event. And maybe about 5 years ago, I found a woman preacher from a neighboring city. She came, and the pastor came down to me, and he was like, "We have a problem." I was like, "Oh," I said, "No, she's here." He was like, "No, that's not the problem." He was like, "She has pants on." I said, "Uh-huh." So he was like, "She can't go in the pulpit with pants on."
Oh, my Lord.
I said, and I tried, listen, I struggle with my face and my immediate reactions. And so I know you're supposed to be respectful to the pastor of the house, but when I was like, so I probably had 15 different facial expressions before I was like, Jesus, give me diplomacy, drop it down, because I don't have it. And so I said, this woman has driven 30 minutes to preach a word. I think the people want to hear a preached word. So I'm like, I basically was like, what we don't want to do is have a rumbling going on within the congregation that she couldn't preach. And that is what influenced him to let her go on ahead. So when I think about stuff like that and on that small scale, but all of the issues that we have still going on a larger scale, it's disheartening and it's frustrating and it's so archaic and so rusty. At the same time, though, when I hear about the duns and the nuns and people who have left, I understand church hurt. I get it. And I know depending on where you've gone to church, because God, could you imagine being under this leadership for the whole of? I'm so glad, child. My church story would be so different if that man had been a pastor the whole time that I was going to church there. But I understand church hurt, but I find myself defending the Black church to Black women. Like, girl, don't give up. We need you. Like, we need leaders. And I feel like sometimes the more educated we get, the more distanced we get, because we feel like we're more enlightened or we're empowered in other ways, and we really don't need to, or that's not our fight anymore. And I feel like it still is, because for one, it's our legacy, and for two, it's part of what fuels us and keeps us going, that spiritual connection. It's cool to have fellowship at home and in other ways, but the church, I just have a special place in my heart for the Black church. And I want other women to have that, even if they've had challenges, and that I can understand. So I relate to it all the way around.
Ah, I love it. Thank you for sharing that story. That was good. Good, good, good.
So I just want to jump in for a second, because just looking at the sermon earlier today, because I had not heard about it either, until Janelle sent out the notes, and then listening to all the ladies, what it just made me think that we are always fighting as women, it seems like, but God is constantly reminding us too, I think, that we were built for this, whatever it is. I mean, we fight racial fighting, we fight for equal pay, we fight, I mean, every turn. And now there's still a fight in the church, where you would think that would be the one place we wouldn't have to fight, but that's not the case, unfortunately. So when you asked the question earlier, like, how far we've come, I guess my answer would be not nearly far enough. Unfortunately, we have definitely made strides, but unfortunately, there's still, the powers out there that want to control, that want to keep us in a certain place or position or whatever. But God created us, and He put down inside of us everything that He desires. And so, if that means leadership, if that means bishop, preacher, whatever it is, He put that inside of us. And I am proud when I see any of us standing up and walking in whatever it is God has called us to do, in spite of the fight. We just continue to keep fighting and keep going, and He keeps giving us the strength we need to do just that.
I love it. Stanita and Corinne and Rihanna, when you think about the Black church, when you think about women in the Black church, what are your thoughts? Where because that's why I love this multi-generational panel, because a lot of us have different exposures and different experiences of church, and it's good for us to hear, because there's some people who are even prognosticating that the church is on its last leg, not just the Black church but the church in general. And I choose to believe, like Janelle, that that's not so, because God said, God's church will prevail. But what things do we need to pay attention to? What things do we need to change? What things do we need to listen to? So I want to hear from Stanita and Corinne and Rihanna. Y'all can go in whichever order y'all want to go through, and share your thoughts on the conversation.
I want to say this. I've been in church my entire life. I was born on a Sunday, but I do want to say this. I definitely appreciate you, Reverend Kelly, and Pastor for allowing me to even step into the pulpit, because I do know, as we're talking about, there's places where you're not even allowed to step foot in the pulpit. And the fact that, I've been allowed to do so and be myself and be free and, just be a woman, a young woman at that, just to talk freely and, feel comfortable doing so without getting that backlash and, allowing us to speak our truth from our perspective. We are in a multi-generational church, and so allow us to speak from our perspective, our viewpoint, and not receive, that we are less than, and you treat us as equal. And I just feel like it's crazy knowing that in 2024 we're at this point where women are still fighting. Like everyone's saying, we're still fighting, whether it's in the church, whether it's at work, whether it's racial, but it's the fact that we are still fighting and we're still looked down upon and we're still viewed as less than our counterparts. And so the fact that I even have you and Pastor to allow me to even to speak is amazing in itself. And the fact that we are allowed to come where we are and who we are, because not all the time we're all put together and we have this persona that everything's okay, but you allow us to be our true authentic self.
Awesome. Thank you, Stanita. Thank you for your voice. All right, Corinne and Rihanna, duke it out. Who's coming?
So agreeing like similar to like what Stanita was saying, like just having an opportunity in the church, definitely at like a young age. Like I remember back at Hunter, just being in the pulpit, just singing, reading the scripture, and just being encouraged, and not just encouraged, but encouraged by other Black females. And I feel like as I grew older, like that always like stood out to me, and it was just like I didn't have to fight, and it was just like I just always had that opportunity. So it's just like seeing like people in my skin complexion and my skin color just fighting to just have the opportunity. It's just like it's sad because it's like what more can we do? And it's just like I don't know, like I feel like it's it's gonna I don't want to say it's gonna keep happening like the ongoing generations, but it's just like we can't get it to stop. Like it's just keep going, and it's like it's not fair that everybody doesn't have the opportunity that like Reverend Kelly gives us or like Pastor gives us. But it's just like I don't know, like it's really sad.
Do you? I have a question. I guess as we have Corinne come up next. Do you have what is it like for your friends, Danita and Corinne too as well? After you share what you want to share, do your friends go to church? What kind of conversation do you have, or do you feel comfortable having with your friends? What do they say about church, the Black church, or having a relationship with God? Do they think church is still relevant or important or necessary? I'm gonna think about that question. I'm gonna have Corinne come up and share, and then we'll come back to that question.
Yeah. So I grew up in a Catholic church.
Mhm.
So for one, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me.
Mhm.
Um, and there were definitely no females in any leadership position whatsoever. Just male
Mhm.
priests, male deacons. It was just unheard of. So when I came to Hunter, was it 10, 11 years ago now? Hunter, now Real Power. When I came there, it was just unheard of to me. Oh, female preacher. Okay. Female ministers. Oh, okay. Um, so and again, like to echo Rihanna and Stanita, just the fact that I've been able to be in the pulpit, with just using my voice, and that's a pretty big deal because that literally just would never have crossed my mind as a possibility
Mhm.
in the Catholic Church. So, like, it's a matter of perspective. There's definitely still a ways to go, but I've been in a place where it's a lot worse than this. Um, so yeah, that's what I have for that.
Yeah. So, what about your conversations with your colleagues, your peers, your friends, when if you have that conversation about church or God, or what is it that you hear or you feel like there's a sense of there's still relevance for the church, or do you have people that are like, nah, I'll pass?
It's it's definitely a mix. Um, I know for people who struggle with coming to church that are my age, I think it's a mixture of, well, it tends to be environments where it's mostly people who are much older and not a lot of people in our generation.
Mm-hmm.
So just naturally wanting to connect with people, that you can relate to,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess as a byproduct of that, a lot of things that are talked about, it's not necessarily catered to our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know for me personally, like I know a lot of my friends too. Like we value the wisdom from other generations, so it's not to knock that. The most recent retreat that you just had, Reverend Kelly, I thought was amazing, and it definitely gave me just to look at what is to come in my future. So I definitely value that, and I know a lot of my friends value that too. But there is something to be said about just having conversations relevant to where we are
Mm-hmm.
currently in our lives. And if it's mostly people who are outside of our generation, it's harder to have those conversations.
Thank you for sharing that, because it's very true that I think the further back you go in the generations, the less conversation there is about life as a woman that women need to know and women need to hear. And I'm grateful that we're in a generation now where more women are willing to share with the younger generation about life, about what they went through, about what it means to be, a Black woman. And our question is also, do we feel like the church is a safe place, and how can we make it a safe place for women to actualize the calling that God has on their life? Um, Dana has, we were taught to fight within and make change despite the challenges and smile through it. But our daughters have seen the negative and will not willingly volunteer for mess instead of a message. And that's what we're dealing with, I believe, in the church, is that we were taught, and sometimes it can be culturally. Each generation has its own culture, and so it can be generationally and cultural and conditioned to what women put up with or dealt with. But we are now in the mix of generations that are like, no, I don't, and some are not necessarily leaving the church. They're just finding a space and place where they can grow and receive what they need without a lot of the hierarchy or a lot of the rules. And this generation is most known, the last two generations, or maybe three, I have to look at my notes, are the most known for being open, multi-racial, multi whatever. They don't have the whole "it's us and you stay out" kind of thing. Their arms are a little more open. And I think that's really a good thing. And it challenges us that we are here for the world and not just for us. And those power struggles happen in the church just like it happens in the world. And so women are the ones that are standing up and speaking up in this generation to say, well, if you don't give me a seat, I'll get my own table. And then open it up for other people that you don't want to be there. So let's talk about that. What do you think the future of the church is? I know we can't solve it all, but we do have next week. So at least we got tonight and next week. We can talk about it. Um, what do you think the future of the church is, and what do we need? Because when we're talking about spiritual formation, how are we taught about God? How do we see God? What are we saying about God in this season, in this generation? How do we develop women leaders for the church, for the pulpit, for the boards, for not just in the pulpit, but there's still some churches who are just now making women deacons and women elders that have decision making processes in the church. All of the above. I was invited to do a workshop for women at a church, and when I got there, it was in the basement, which is no big deal. It was in the fellowship hall, but I noticed that there was a man there and he wouldn't leave. I had to keep adjusting what I was saying because he was there. And when we were done, they told me, yeah, that's because you are kind of like the first ordained woman here, and they didn't know what you were going to say, so they had to have somebody in there in the room with you. And I was like, wow, okay, well, yeah, all right. And that was almost like 20 years ago, maybe 20 years, 15, 20 years ago. But that was my first encounter because, like those of you saying, it came and you were used to seeing women. That was not my story when I grew up, but when I really became active at Ebenezer, I was used to seeing a woman in the pulpit and going to the women's retreats and seeing powerful women minister. So the question, as we prepare to close, what do you feel like the future of the church is? It don't have to be just
I'm
real quick.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I think it's bright and getting brighter. Just from our perspective of where we are and listening to Stanita and Corinne and Rihanna, it gives me even more hope because of our atmosphere, our environment here at Real Power is positive in that vein, and we can then take that, like you said, each generation gets a little more transparent, a little more, and we can take what we have, and we're willing, to girl, let me tell you about this, and make sure y'all don't do what we did, and make sure you right in this area, and we're helping, our younger generations to be better and taking what we have so that they can be better and then run even further than we did.
I love it. I love it. Just one more before we go, because we have one more segment to close out with, and we want to get that in and get you back to the rest of your evening on this Wednesday. So thank you, thank you. Let's get just maybe one more and save it up. Take some notes because we got one more Wednesday to talk about this. And let's see as we can prepare next week for some solutions and for some ideas. And after you have taken a week to kind of talk to your friends and bring some of that intel back to us, that we could talk about the state of Black women in the church. Because I, like Janelle and like Crystal said, I believe there is such great hope. It has been such a blessing to me to watch men who had major houses, quote unquote, what we say, pass their pulpits to their daughters. They didn't have any sons, but they had preaching daughters, and they went against the grain and appointed in the succession to their daughters, and their daughters are doing phenomenal jobs. So, and that doesn't mean everybody was happy about it, but they were courageous, and they did it. So, who wants to give us our closing word for tonight as we move on to our next segment?
Promising.
I love it. It is promising. Promising. That's good. Well, we just raise our hand and say we're in agreement with Sister Ann that there is promise because you are here. That makes it promising. So, what we used to do on our Sisterhood Live is that we would close out with what we called the uplift. The uplift was an opportunity for us to share about an organization run by women for women. And on tonight, as we are in Women's History Month, we're highlighting Mimic, an organization founded by our dear, 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 and in heaven now, great woman of power, Reverend Diane Griggs, and is now being helmed by Sister Denise Williams, who has a heart for the community. And Mimic stands for Mentoring is Meaningful in Christ. And their motto is Women Helping Women. And that's exactly what they do. And I love it because Sister Denise has had me come in to do a series of leadership development with the board of Mimic. And I am absolutely just, that's my thing, right? And so I'm absolutely loving it. And it is a blessing to prepare women to be a blessing to other women. Matter of fact, this Saturday, she's having an event at Real Power, and I'm excited. I am one of the guest preachers, but she has women from other ministries. Her heart was that there are other organizations that are doing work for women, to bring them together, to encourage each other, to share resources, to share information. I think our state's attorney Aisha Brayboy and some of the um, community leaders and delegates will be there along with other ministries. And we are excited about the work that she's doing and what they're doing. I'll be there just for a few moments to set the tone, but then we're turning it over to all the other speakers that are going to be there. There's going to be food. And I wasn't supposed to do this part, Reverend Sandy was, that I just remember as we're talking.
That's
Y'all
okay.
supposed to put your finger up or something and say, Reverend Kelly, Reverend Sandy is supposed to do that part. So,
That's
Reverend
right,
Sandy,
keep going.
Reverend Sandy, just have the last word of any of the notes I didn't say and the invitation she's given to Real Power.
But I do want to share that there's still space and for people to attend. And if you are interested, you can get in touch with Sister Denise Williams at 240-424-2622. If you're interested in attending, she'd love to hear from you. Just get in touch with her so she knows how many people to prepare for. And like Reverend Kelly said, we have some community leaders that will be attending. And so it's going to be a great opportunity for networking and for it to be enlightened and empowered. And yes, we're glad that Reverend Dr. Kelly will be the guest preacher, speaker for that evening.
Awesome. I'm excited. It is what time is it? I think it's 9:30 or 10:30. Sister Denise, if you are watching, is there I think Reverend Sandy, do you know the time that it's starting?
I think it's 10 to 3, but let me just double check.
Yes, it's 10 to 3. But Sister Crystal or Mike, can you put that phone number up again? Because she's welcoming you to give her a call for more information if you want to come. She's offering I think a $25 rate for Real Power Women, and you can call her and let her know you want to come. Once again, that phone number
240
mm-hmm.
424 2622.
Awesome. If somebody can put that up. I'm so excited for this panel. Y'all are awesome. I think we should take it on the road. This is phenomenal. Thank you for your voices. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for your wisdom. And I'm so glad that we get to do it multi-generationally. Y'all are awesome. I'm not worried about our future because we have some very astute and amazing and brilliant young women that are carrying forward the baton and carrying the torch forward to empower Black women and to make sure that our voice is heard and that we stand boldly. What our theme says, the confident women, the confident woman believing bigger. And we're going to believe for bigger and better things for us and for the church and for our families and our communities. Because that's one thing we do. It's not just for us. We do what we do for our community. And Janelle brought up a great point. It's legacy. This is our legacy. And we can't walk away from it. We got to stay with it and keep making it better and making it better. Thank y'all for joining us for Sisterhood Live, and join us again next week, March the 13th, and join us for Sisterhood Day at Real Power on March the 17th. We absolutely love y'all. Thank y'all. Have an amazing night. Good night.
I'm not a warrior, I'm too afraid to lose. I feel unqualified for what you're calling me to do. But Lord, with your strength, I got no excuse. 'Cause broken people for me. I'll be